Old school V8 versus new tech hybrid. What's going to win? I've got the BYD Shark 6 up against the Chevrolet Silverado LTZ. Obviously this is not a fair comparison in many areas, but I think it's an interesting one because, yeah, it just shows the difference between just brute old school power and what new technology can do for us. We've got the LTZ Silverado here, 6.2 litre naturally aspirated petrol V8, 313 kilowatts and 624 Newton meters versus the BYD Shark, which features a 1.5 litre turbo petrol with twin electric motors producing 321 kilowatts and 650 Newton meters. So pretty similar on power and torque really, but you might be surprised to hear that the Shark is actually heavier. It weighs 2,710 kilograms versus 2,543 of the Silverado. That means the power to weight ratio is slightly in favor of the Silverado, 123.08 kilowatts per ton versus 118.45 kilowatts per ton in the BYD. The BYD is basically an electric vehicle. The 1.5 turbo engine is basically a generator. It can power the front wheels directly as well, but because of those electric motors, you've got instant power and torque. You don't have to wait for any revving, whereas you do obviously in the V8. If we have a look at the price, it's obviously very unfair because the Silverado is priced from just over 130,000 Australian dollars, while the BYD Shark is just under $58,000, both excluding on-road costs. But I think if you look at the American price of an equivalent LTZ like this, it's going to be pretty similar. It's just that GM has decided not to build the Silverado in right-hand drive for Australia, so we have to do it ourselves. That means there's going to be all sorts of taxes and profits that need to be made on top of it. So the people that convert it to right-hand drive and all that just means extra costs. It's not fair. It doesn't mean the customer should have to pay, but that's just how it is, I guess. The Silverado does feature a four-wheel drive auto mode, so you can drive it on the tarmac with four-wheel drive grip, and that's what I'll run it in. As usual, I'll set up the tripod on 3 different positions down this private road for the full quarter mile, and then during the editing, I'll splice it up so they start off at the exact same time, and then cross the line at the exact same, if they took off at the exact same time as well. As usual, regardless of what the results look like on camera, the V-Box results at the end are the best result that I got out of both vehicles on the day. What do you think is going to win? Let's see. There we go, the BYD gets there in the end. It does have more power and torque, but the power to weight ratio is better in the Silverado. you just can't compete with the instant power and torque of an electric motor, or two electric motors. I thought I'd just weigh up some other differences though. Towing capacity, this can tow 4.5 tonnes. The BYD Shark can only tow 2.5 tonnes. The payload of this is 757 kilograms, while the Shark is actually better at 790 kilograms. The GVM of the Shark is 3.5 tonnes, while the GVM in this is only 3.3. So that means if you hook up max towing to the BYD Shark, you've got to add 10% of the towing, so 2,500. 10% is 250 kilograms. If you minus that off the GVM and the curb weight, and say a driver like me, 80 kilograms, you're left with 460 kilograms of leftover payload. Whereas in this, you're only left with around 227 kilograms. So if you're at the max towing, then the BYD Shark, but you've got to remember this can tow 4.5 tonnes. So if you tow 2.5 with this, like you can with the Shark, then this has got another 2,000 kilograms on top of it of payload. So it's not really fair to weigh up those comparisons, but I mean, those are the figures that we've got. Obviously the Silverado is better for towing and carrying heavy loads. That's just what it's made for. Not only because it's got the better ratings, but it's just bigger. It's not heavier than the Shark, but it is bigger, so it's got a better footprint. That's going to help with stability and everything as well. In terms of the driving manners, look, the BYD Shark's suspension is way too firm in my opinion. I think they really need to focus on fixing that. Even with this is pretty much the same weight. It is a little bit lighter, but it doesn't ride anywhere near as stiff as the BYD Shark for some reason. So what I'm saying is it is possible to contain heavy weight while still offering good comfort. This steers probably about the same as the Shark. It does have a longer wheelbase, which helps with high speed stability. The Shark does steer quite nicely though. It handles good. It doesn't have body roll or anything like that. It's actually, well, it does have a little bit, but not too much for a ute. I think overall I would rather drive the Silverado because I like the burbling V8, even though it is a little bit slower. It's a bit more consistent as well with the Shark. You've got to, it matters what battery level you have, depending on what performance you're getting. As we saw with the initial 0 to 100 test with the Shark, I timed it with a low battery and it was around 7 point something seconds, whereas with the full battery, or as high as it will go, 70% is the highest you can set it at with using the motor as a charger, and then it did 5.6 or whatever it was. So it really matters where you've got the battery level, whereas this is going to be consistent every day. What do you think though? Putting the price out of the picture, because this is over twice the price of the Shark, what would you take if you could, if they were free and they were given to you, you can't sell it or anything like that, you've just got to keep it? The Silverado or the Shark?